Welcome to H2K Infosys. H2K Infosys is a e-verify business based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. We provide 100% job-oriented, instructor-led, face-to-face, true live online software training programs. It also includes access to cloud test lab with software tools. We provide live project for you to work on. We also provide assistance with mock interviews, resume preparation and review, and job placement assistance. H2K Infosys is trusted by so many students across the world. H2K Infosys provides world-class services in IT training with real-time project work for corporates and individuals, special IT training for MS students in the United States, software design, development, QA manual and automation, performance testing and maintenance, IT staff augmentation, job placement assistance, and tech support.
For your bean instantiation, if you say that default init method is init, that expects your init method in each and every bean. So that's the problem, right? So if we need a test case where you have, so in application, you have number of beans, okay? And if you say like there is a default init method, then every application, every bean will have this default init method, okay? Exact same logic to be running. So you need something which is handled outside this bean, but it will execute every time before this bean is initialized and after this being initialized, if you want to do something like that. Okay, so there is a provision Spring provides, and those are called as post processors. Okay, so these are bean post processors, and you can add these post processors for every bean. So what happens is if you declare a post processor before initializing these all beans and after initializing these all beans, the methods from post processor will execute. Okay, so can you name me a similar concept in struts we learned? There is a very similar concept we learned in struts, also servlet. So you can actually relate this concept to those concepts. So in servlet, what is it called? I'm getting a good answer there. And in struts, what is it called? So servlet, I got a good answer. It is called as filters. Absolutely right. It's called as interceptors. So you see that whenever you are learning a new framework, there is an analogical part in every framework you will see which is common. So the way and the handling classes, abstract classes and interfaces will be different, but ultimately you're gonna end up in the same stuff or doing same stuff. So even now onwards, if you learn a new framework, like if you start reading JSF, always look for this concept, like where is my servlet analogical part, my post processor and my filter analogical part, my view analogical part, my controller analogical part. So you will be able to understand entire framework very easily. So this is a core idea of understanding every framework because. So now onwards, you should not get confused that, oh my God, I have struts 2, I already learned struts 2, but I don't know what is in struts 3 if it is not came yet or if it's already in the market or something like that. So you do not have to get confused or do not have to get afraid. You know that the concepts are common. You just have to know what are the abstract classes and interfaces you need to implement and you need to extend. And there are configuration classes for controller. That is, this is it. So if you learn those, then any framework is super easy. Okay. So that's why that because of this discussion, I kept this particular part a little bit later. And remember that you can learn any framework after this particular course. You will be able to do it very easily. Okay. Because you know the core concept of what is framework. Okay. That is more important than learning each and every framework, right? Okay. Okay. So let's go back here now. Whenever this bean you want to initialize or not, you want to, whenever the Spring initializes that bean, if the Spring is a container, now you want this particular code which is executing here, which is executing here, which is executing here, keep it aside, okay, and declare it here itself, okay, declare it here itself. So bean post processor provides two methods, okay. So processor provides two methods. One is for before initializing, and one is after initializing. So you can do something before initializing code, and you can also do something after initialization of that bean. So, and this is executed for each and every bean. Okay, remember that. And there is very easy way. Again, remember that if there is a concept, there is a what called technological aspect you are learning, definitely either there will be an interface or there will be an abstract class. Okay, so right now bean processor is an interface. So you just have to implement an interface and you will get these two methods. So nowhere in the world you actually need to know what exact method definitions are or what is the method name or something like that. Okay. Of course, you need to understand that what you have to do in that method particularly. Okay. If you are doing struct2, then you want action dot invoke. If you are doing filter, then you want chain do chain, something like that. Okay. But in filters, there are URL patterns to be matched for making selective. What about post processors? No, post processors, we cannot do that. Remember that we are not learning MVC here. Okay. When we have MVC, then we have URL matching pattern. Okay. And today we're going to discuss that. Okay. That is called as handler mapping. And you will going to understand that. Okay. But absolutely, that part will be covered. Now here though, we are just learning post processing of a bean, a normal bean, any bean. Okay. So this is not MVC. Okay. So we are not discussing any URL specific. URL is not in a big picture. When URL comes, then we have MVC. Okay. You have this web framework. This is not a web framework as of now. Okay. So now let's do a small post processor code. So let me use this guy and let's use a post processor called a product post processor. You know that you have laptop, you know you have washer, so all of them are products. So let me ask product post processor. Okay. Let me add the interface ladder and implement bean post processor. Okay. And this class comes from Spring Framework factory config. And of course, you need to have an implemented method. As this is a contract, it will have two methods. Method name itself tells you what exactly that method is. Post process after initialization, post process before initialization. So of course, your initialization, before initializing that bean, you will get this particular code executed. After initializing, this code will get executed. So it has two things here, object and string. So what is this object and what is this string? So this object is your real bean object. Okay, so this is your bean object. Okay. And this name is actually name of your bean. So which bean is getting executed as of now. So you can add any bean specific logic, like if this is an initializing bean, if it's a laptop bean, then do this. If it is let's say washer bean, then do this. If it's a mouse bean and configuration bean, then do this. So you can do that logic with the help of this. So you can have this as a bean name. You can declare that. So I just name that string as bean name, and this is bean. That. And now what is it returning? So see here, it's also returning an object. So people understand this. So ultimately, if you are doing something after initializing, if you are doing something before initializing, whatever you do, you need to return what? what you processed on. So you processed something on bean. Okay. So whatever object is coming in, you should return that object, right? And you do that processing here and then return the same object. So this is what we are doing here. So as we are getting that object, we are passing or using that object for something for post processing, and then we are returning that object. So you should be returning beans. If you don't return, if you return something else, that something else will get forward. So that should not be an intended purpose though. So, and here, let's add this out that we are, just add, not we are and all, method name that this method is executing for which bean you are in. Bean. Okay. And similar stuff, we will do it for post processor. And of course, you need to return bean. Do not forget that. Okay. Now this post processor is declared. How this post processor will get called? So somebody should actually initialize this post processor as well. And remember that this is a Java class. So Java class means simple, plain, old Java object Tojo. So if it is a Tojo, if it is a Java object, it can also called as a bean. So even bean post processor is a bean, right? So you can use string XML to initialize this post processor. There is no new logic for that. You can always declare something like this. Just create a bean, okay, and then declare class and just mention this bean post processor. I'm using some package. And this is it. You really don't need to have any ideas clear or something. So this bean post processor, this product post processor will be executed for every bean which is getting initialized. Okay. By default, there is no logic required as such. Okay. Of course, you need a com around I think here. Okay. And let's see our test class where we are initializing something and see whether we get this post processor executed. Okay, so see here process initialization for configuration classes. So we have two configuration classes. So these two configuration classes getting over. Then laptop, and then config classes, and then you got. So although you actually ask for only one instance, you can see that all the beans are initialized. So that's what Spring does for you. So whenever you initialize the context, whenever this context is created, basically creation of context is you got all the beans loaded. Okay, you will get all the beans loaded into the JVM, and whenever you ask for it, then definitely that bean will be returned to you. Okay, so we see that you have before initializing and after initializing you got the entire name there, entire name there. Why we got a configuration name like that? Why we got the configuration name like that? Okay, because it's an inner bean and it doesn't have. Okay, so that's why. So it doesn't have an ID. Okay, so it actually created a default ID for it. So inner bean is instantiated, then laptop bean is instantiated. So dependencies are satisfied in that order. The inner beans will instantiate and then this will satisfy. Okay, completely understood. Okay. So these are post processors and these are used for that absolute single purpose. Whenever you need to run something before initializing all the things, remember all. Okay. If you need a specific method to be executed for a single bean, then which method you should use? Of course, yeah. So you should declare an init method and you should use that. Okay. Now you got it and you understood that concept. So let's proceed further. That is really a small concept though. Okay. So now we will learn little bit about, now we are going little deep in Spring. Okay. And remember that you will see little weird syntax around, but don't get surprised. It's just what we say already written code, and you are just calling methods. Always remember that you are not learning any new language as such. Somebody already wrote the code and you are using the stuff, nothing else. Okay, so we're going to learn something which is newly added in your course, that is Spring JDBC. Okay, so Spring JDBC is what? So Spring actually has a bad habit of using templates. Okay, and why I say bad habit, because once you get habitual with Spring, then you will end up in being a lazy coder because you have a lot of templates available for each and everything. And these templates are very useful. They already have a lot of stuff like connection logic and all the logics which are required to execute some part of the code. So whatever templates I know real quick are like JMS templates. Okay, you have file transfer templates to FTP templates. Okay, you have, whenever you are working with HTTP, then you have those things. Okay, and you have JDBC. And there are a lot. Okay, the list doesn't end here. This doesn't stop here. There are a lot. Okay, so there are many templates you can use. Most popular ones are JMS template, JDBC template. Okay, and even FTP one. So these templates, what is this template? You don't really need to write entire JDBC code to get a connection, to decide a driver manager.get connection, open it, open a, let's say, prepared statement, write the, of course you need to write SQL query somewhere. Okay, then get the result set, then map the result set each and every row to somewhere. Definitely you need to do that here also, but there is another way to do that. Okay, the simpler way. So all these tasks which we are declaring here, which are pointing out here, all these tasks are already coded in such a manner that you really do not have to worry about. Okay, so what are the things you really you are not going to worry? So in JDBC template, first thing is you will not worry about connection loss. Okay, you will not open a connection, you will not close the connection. Okay, everything is already coded. Okay. Second thing is it will prepare and execute query for you. Okay, you do not have to write a prepared statement. You do not have to write dot execute and pass results with object and true and false flags in there. No, nothing. Okay. Now third thing is it actually has another color. A good exception handling mechanism. It handles an exception very properly, especially SQL exception. Okay, and finally, yes, kind of. This is an ORM for Spring. Okay, and finally, it handles transactions as well very well. Okay, so these are like features which I can quickly sort out and give you, but there are more. And when you actually do coding, you will see you can explore more. Okay, so remember, whenever we talk about Spring, always picture everything as a bean. Okay, so if this is a bean, you basically need two beans. So which are these two beans? So first bean you will need is your data source. Okay, and definitely, because why data source bean, and this data source bean, and another bean you will need is your data access object. Okay, So data access object will have a dependency injection of data source. Okay, because without data source, definitely this data access object will not work. What is data source? Data source is let's say a complete object or a driver, as well as your let's say your username, password, the connection URL, embedded all these things in single class is the data source. Okay, so this DAO class which you have will have a dependency injection. Okay, we will be using DI. We'll be using DI for getting this data source object into DAO, and then in DAO you will execute queries. Okay, so this is what we know as of now. We don't know how they really work. So let's go and check how we are actually creating this data source inside a bean. And really, there is no logic behind that. Okay, it's pretty simple. It's straight like a line. Now see, I created a bean called as data source. Okay, and data source has a class driver manager data source, and this particular data source class is coming from Spring Framework. So this is something provided by Spring Framework. Okay, so always in whatever database you want to connect, you will initialize that particular database driver or other thing with this class. Okay, this is driver manager data source, and now you will specify what is the connection URL, what is the driver class name, what is username, what is password, with the help of properties. So these properties are predefined, and you can pass driver class name here, you can pass URL, you can pass username and password.
So many of our students have given testimonials on how our training programs are. You will find them on kudzu.com and on our website H2Kinfosys.com. On our website H2Kinfosys.com, you will also find more detailed information on who we are, the courses that we offer, what each course covers. Also, if you're interested in a demo program, please register on our homepage on the left-hand side. Just give us more information about yourself and we will send you a link for a demo class. The demo class is absolutely free. Experience our commitment by just attending an orientation workshop at no cost. Our team of faculty and advisors are here to guide you with the right information. If you still have more questions, please feel free to call us. Call us at 770-777-1269. This is a United States number. If you're calling from the UK, call us at 020-337-17615. You can also email us at training@H2Kinfosys.com or H2Kinfosys@gmail.com. Thank you for watching our videos. We wish you a great career in information technology.